might take much longer for you to get the products you want because next week, a potential labor strike at East and Gulf Coast ports could leave ships filled with billions of dollars worth of goods stranded. Back in June, talks stalled between the union representing dock workers, that's the International Longshoremen Association, and the group representing their employers, the United States Maritime Alliance. And that means more than 45,000 workers at 36 different ports across the East and Gulf Coasts might walk off the job next Tuesday. More than 60% of shipping traffic goes through these ports, so the expected economic impact from a strike could be significant. Consider what a week-long East and Gulf Coast strike could do. It could reduce the national gross domestic product by $4.5 to $7.5 billion. However, analysts stress that the lost GDP would mostly be recovered once ports clear shipping backlogs. Still, that could take until next year to do so. The economic impact will also be large because each port is crucial to the national economy. Take a look at this. Down in Norfolk, Virginia, if that port closes, the expected economic impact would be as much as $600 million per day. That's according to analysis by the nonprofit Maitre. Houston's port faces costs of $91.5 million per day in imports and exports. Since these goods could remain stuck at sea during a potential strike, some manufacturers are sending their goods to the West Coast. Already, August was the busiest month for the Port of Los Angeles since the pandemic.
Customers, and you have a lot of insight into the supply chain. Where do you sit on the likelihood of this strike actually happening on Monday and how long it would be? Bank of America and TD Cowen say increasing likelihood, but they believe it will be short, maybe 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's the big question. We certainly are increasingly view this as a likelihood strike. I think a couple of months ago, we thought it would be very unlikely that there wouldn't be a White House intervention. And so it appears that the White House has said that they're not going to intervene in the strike and ask for a cooling off period, which we really didn't expect. We thought with an election season upon us and the election just a month out that the White House would intervene, but that doesn't appear to be the case.
Tonight, we may be just days away from a strike that could shut down activity at ports from Maine down to Texas, including here in Newark. And that could spell serious trouble for a U.S. economy that is already hampered by rising inflation. The union representing longshoremen is ready to walk off the job next week, saying the group representing the ports isn't coming to the bargaining table with a fair offer. It's a decision that could have wide-ranging effects, not only on our economy, but the political climate ahead of a critical election. Senior correspondent Joanna Gagis reports.
We're hoping they come to an agreement soon. We're concerned about our employees being out of work. We're concerned about our customers and their ability to serve their customers.
Longshoremen working at the port in Newark could walk off the job on Tuesday morning, potentially bringing commerce in the area to a screeching halt. That's because negotiations for a new contract between the International Longshoremen's Association, the ILA, and their employer, the U.S. Maritime Alliance, have stalled.
Representatives from the Longshoremen's Union are saying that the employer has not made any meaningful counter proposals around wages. And there's also a lot of anger around the introduction of some new technology in some of the ports in the South, which is impacting their jobs. And the union is making the case that the employers need to bargain over those changes.
The ILA is the largest union of maritime workers in the U.S. While specifics aren't public, some reports say they're asking for about a 75% wage increase over a 6-year period from the $39 an hour they earn now. And they're poised to strike at all of their East Coast and Gulf of Mexico ports on October 1st.
Well, it'll be expensive for our business, but I'm mostly concerned about our employees. I mean, especially nowadays with inflation being what it is, their ability to pay their bills without getting a paycheck every week.
Tom Heimgartner owns Best Transportation, a trucking company that depends on port workers to move goods onto his trucks. He employs a little more than 100 workers, but the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey says some 600,000 jobs are impacted by the flow of goods at the port, and J.P. Morgan estimates that a strike could cost the economy $5 billion a day.
Logistics and the ports are so important to our economy here in New Jersey that it would have a ripple-in effect across the board, not just retail, manufacturing, but also the service providers that all support those industries, right? Attorneys, bankers, accountants, this could have a devastating effect.
We're already in a period of high inflation. We saw the global supply chain shut down during COVID, and that skyrocketed prices. What could this do to the cost of goods for consumers?
It's going to go up. I mean, that's the one certainty. It's a very simple rubric. Less capacity, higher prices. If you only have so many ships you could ship on prior to the strike, those prices are going to go very high.
A union representative says their employer, USMX, has been trying to get the ILA to accept a lowball wage package that he called insulting offers that are a joke, considering the work my ILA longshore workers perform and the billion-dollar profits the companies make off the backs of their labor. Meanwhile, the U.S. Maritime Alliance filed an unfair labor practice charge with the National Labor Relations Board today, accusing the union of not bargaining in good faith. Last week, several trade groups sent a letter to President Biden asking him to help the two sides come together. As of now, President Biden has said he will not enforce the 1947 Taft-Hartley Act, which would force workers back to work.
Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachaha, Kodash. I want to give double honor to that apostle, that is a great millstone who rule well and teach well. Peace and blessing to you, sincere Akim, that are pushing this truth all over the four corners of the earth, week in and week out, in all truth and sincerity. I want to go into this article from abc13.com concerning this potential port worker strike. It says, potential port worker strike could cripple the U.S. economy, experts say. It says, workers at Port Houston could walk off the job soon if their union and the U.S. Maritime Association can't agree on a contract by Monday. And this is not just Houston, Texas. This is all, I see here, you got 36 ports, okay, that could potentially, the workers from these 36 ports could potentially go on a strike, which would start on Monday. It says, not only could we see a potential strike from workers here and in other parts of the country, but industry experts say millions of dollars worth of shipments could be stalled. Yeah, just the Norfolk, Virginia port alone, if that shut down, it would lose $600 million a day. All right, let's continue on. It says, the possibility of major supply chain disruption means containers at Port Houston could be left unshipped. That's if the International Longshoremen Association, the ILA, the largest union representing maritime workers in America, and the U.S. Maritime Association don't agree on a new contract that expires on Monday. And I really don't see them agreeing in a new contract. I really see this strike happening. That's just my, personal opinion. And another opinion I have is, if this strike does take place, I don't see the election taking place. Okay. These people are already on edge. If this strike does take place and it goes longer than 2-3 weeks per se, we're going to see heavy inflation out here. Gas is going to go up. The price of food, the price of daily goods is going to skyrocket. You're going to have these various businesses, these major corporations, these warehouses. They're going to struggle to stay open and be able to pay their salaries out to their employees, because these warehouse jobs require heavily on these goods that come from Japan, Taiwan, China. All right, these tech companies, they heavily depend on the ports, man. The goods they receive, the different computer devices, the things that they need on the daily to facilitate their customers' needs, so to speak, man. All right. A lot of these trucking companies, solely rely on the ports, where they receive these shipping containers and deliver them all over the United States. So the trucking company would take a major hit. All right. And, eventually this would heavily influence a famine over here in Babylon the Great, okay? Which this God article actually goes into it. And I'll leave this link in the description box as well. But let's continue on in this article. It says workers could potentially go on strike next Tuesday if a deal isn't made. A strike of this magnitude would cripple the U.S. economy, Margaret Kidd, Program Director of Supply Chain and Logistics at the University of Houston, said. I don't think consumers need to worry at this moment. Quote, if there's a prolonged strike, you could see shortages of fruits and vegetables. Obviously, the automotive parts sector would be impacted. Yeah, that's another thing. The automotive, category, sector, whatever you want to call it, would take a heavy impact because, when you go into these auto zones, the Napa Auto Parts, Advanced Auto Parts, O'Reilly's, all right, all these different auto parts, whether you're dealing with cars, motorcycles, big trucks, etc. I would say 90% of all the product comes from overseas. All right, and I've worked in some of these companies, and I, have a mechanic background, and the majority of parts from even domestic parts, even cars that are built in the United States, a lot of the parts that you get to replace OEM parts, okay, they come from overseas, and even OEM parts are now, being built outside of America, okay. It says the union is demanding higher wages and protections against automation. Yeah, and that's what this whole strike is, circling around. The basically the the automation sector, man. Okay, and these workers are asking for a 75% wage increase over, I forgot how many years. They said it in the video though. All right, so they're asking for a nice chunk of change. All right, it says a company that designs software for the transportation industry, quote, you're going to potentially see companies like Exxon and Lyondell Bustle, I can't even pronounce that. It says that have ongoing running plants that may have to shut down production because they are daily producing goods out the door. Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of companies shut down, and it ain't gonna take months. A lot of these companies are gonna have to shut down within 2 to 3 weeks or less. All right. It says in a statement on Thursday, the USMX, which that stands for Slovakia, let me skip up. That stands for the U.S. Maritime Association. All right. It says in a statement on Thursday, USMX claims the ILA has refused to come to the bargaining table, and now they filed an unfair labor practice charge with the National Labor Relations Board, requiring negotiations to keep going. It says the ILA responded that a statement that reads in part, the USMX filing these charges 4 days before the expiration of the current master contract clearly illustrates what poor negotiation partners they have been. It says earlier in the week, the union claimed both sides have been in talks multiple times in recent weeks. It says Kidd feels that an agreement will be made soon, even if a strike happens. Okay, well, if a strike happens and you still have an agreement in the works, that's still gonna have a heavy impact on the already a falling, crumbling economy. And I just don't see a presidential election campaign happening with these ports shut down. All right. And just like Apostle Tahar has been saying, even before this, we caught wind of this whole port strike situation, you know, he said we very well could not see, you know, an election, you know, a new president put in that seat, so to speak, man. All right. I want to get one scripture, and then we can close out. Let's go to Isaiah the 47th chapter. And I'm just going to read the first verse, you know, because this place is circling the toilet bowl. America is through. And Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is systematically bringing this place down to the ground. This is Isaiah 47:1. It says, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate." Let's read that in the NLT. It says, "Come down, virgin daughter of Babylon." And that virgin daughter of Babylon is talking about the Babylon after the ancient Babylon. It's talking about America, man. Okay? It says, "For your days of sitting on the throne have ended." You know, this is no longer the place that people are looking at, you know, to come and retire. And even the people that have came over here are starting to realize that this place is not what it had seemed to be from the outside looking in. Once they got over here, they're like, oh man, this is much more different than what they saw on those postcards, okay? What they saw on TV and in the movies. It says, "For your days of sitting on the throne have ended, O daughter of Babylon. Never again will you be the lovely princess, tender and delicate." Yeah, never again. Yahweh Shem Yahushua is bringing this place down, and this place is never going to rise up again. Okay? Lord willing, that was edifying. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Rochaha Kwadash. I want to give double honors to the head apostle, Nettles, a great millstone who rule well and teach well. Peace and blessing to you, sincere Akim, that are pushing this truth all over the four corners of the earth, week in and week out in all truth and sincerity. To the next time, Shalom.